topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
This is Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. Do you want to live a more fulfilling life? Do you want to live your legacy and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Well, coming up on Divya Parekh's Beyond Confidence, you will hear real stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers who have stepped into discomfort, shattered their status quo, and are living the life they want. You will learn how relationships are the key to achieving your aspirations and financial goals. Moving your career or business forward does not have to happen at the expense of your personal or family life, or vice versa. Learn more at www.divyaparekh.com, and you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. This is Beyond Confidence, and now here's your host, Divya Parekh.
Good morning, listeners. It is Tuesday morning, and I get to be with you. So, for past several weeks, I was having a working vacation. And the beautiful thing about that was the house was right on the ocean. And one of my cousins had invited to her place. She had rented for summer. So just being there, being part of nature, it helps you connect with yourself and realize that where does life begin? Where does life go? Where does life take us? And it gets you to be a little bit more introspective. And today we are going to be talking about some tough things. And think about the cost that no one puts on the balance sheet. That's what we are going to be talking about today. And yes, every one of us experiences it. And if you don't, more power to you. But I do want to share that having coached thousands of people, having been in different areas, like, from being an associate professor or to being an entrepreneur to working in the corporate world, we all go through it some point in time. And now you might be curious, what is this cost? What is this hidden tax that I'm talking about? That none of us even put in our budget. We don't put it on our balance sheets. It is imposter syndrome. And I have been working on that for quite some time, including myself. So just a few, probably a few years back, I was thinking, what's on my bucket list? Let's think about doing a TED Talk. So I've done keynote speaking. I have done a lot of speaking engagements. And yet there is something about the TED Talk where there needs to be brevity, where you need to take people on a roller coaster. You have to put your point across with clarity and brevity. So I kept on thinking, maybe that's not my cup of tea. Maybe I'm not cut out for that. Maybe. And that was the hidden tax I was paying. And why do I say that? Because it kept me from realizing my potential. Okay, let me go out and do that TED Talk. I did do that. But I had to cross that barrier. And when I did, it was so liberating. Because I moved beyond that stretch zone. I moved beyond that comfort zone. I stretched a little bit. I experienced discomfort. But when I was on the other side, I didn't care how many people liked it, how many people applauded it. What mattered to me was that I did it. And that's the question to ask yourself. I'm going to invite you to ask yourself, where are those hidden taxes that you're paying? And You keep on paying all those hidden taxes. And when you keep on paying all those hidden taxes, what happens is that you keep on increasing the cost. And when I say it's increasing the cost, what it means is, what is it costing you to not come face to face with it? Let me share with you another story. A client of mine, we'll call her Sarah. Incredible leadership coach. Her clients just loved her, and she had testimonials a mile long. Yeah. And every time she would mention her price, she would say, like, when she sensed hesitation on a potential client's face or some objection in the voice, and she would just kind of go and say, oh, you know what? But if that's too much, we can adjust. And guess what happened? Every client took the discount. Who doesn't like discounts? I like discounts. And why was she losing out? Not because she was not talented, not because she was not creating transformations. She was losing out because she was doubting her own worth in the moment. Just as I had doubted myself, my capacity, and then I could do it. And when we calculated with all the discounts that she had given to her clients, you want to take a guess? Take a number? How much money she left on the table? Not 10,000, not 20, not 30. $40,000 on the table, just 1 year. So that's the imposter tax. And it doesn't show up in your budget. It doesn't show up in QuickBooks. It doesn't show up in different areas. But guess where it shows up? It shows up in lost revenue, lost authority, lost momentum. And I could keep on going with stories after stories after stories. So I'm going to invite you to kind of think about, where are you seeing that you're not paying attention to that imposter syndrome? Check it out throughout the day. Is it that goal that you keep on putting off? Because guess what? 92% people fail to keep the New York's resolution. And why do I call it New York? Because the ball drops, everybody knows. And 31st December, right? We are all jazzed up. We are ready. We're welcoming New Year and we are ready to go. We've got mile-long resolutions. And only 92% people fail. Only 92%? Yes. But there are that 8% that stay the course, that stretch themselves. I would say that most people fail. Almost 100% people fail sometimes in their lives, and it's okay. But failing because things did not work out is different than failing because of imposter syndrome. So think about, how much is it costing you? So that's one stat I gave you. Another stat, KPMG, they do a lot of research. And what have they shared? That 75%, yes, 75% of executives admit to experiencing imposter syndrome at some point in their careers. And what happens? It may be a missed promotion. It may be you're not speaking up when you could have taken that initiative. Missed opportunities. And when you have missed opportunities, it can have long-term ramifications. Because remember, a decision not taken is a choice. A decision taken is a choice. An action not taken is a choice. An action taken is a choice. So what happens is that we are thinking, oh, this is fearful. I'm not going to take that step and I'm staying comfortable. Yes, in my cocoon. But I want to tell you that unless that butterfly really breaks that cocoon, that helps it strengthen its wings. Because if it did not push through it, if it did not feel that discomfort, its wings wouldn't strengthen and it wouldn't fly and it would drop dead. So, yes, we feel the discomfort. Yes, we have this imposter syndrome. What would you like to call it? Let's call it a gremlin imposter. It shows up and it holds you back. So, going to share another stat with you, another Deloitte study. So, Deloitte is a consulting firm, and then they do a lot of research and a lot of surveys and all that. So, they have done a thorough study and linked imposter syndrome with underpricing, missed opportunities, and stalled promotions. These are just a few things. So, all right, imposter syndrome is there. So now you've taken a moment. You've taken a stock of your life and you have seen, where am I holding myself back? What am I not doing? What opportunities am I missing out? Is it because I have evaluated everything? Is it because I've made informed decision? Or is it because I am contracting and not expanding? Are you shrinking from success? So the key is you got to ask yourself, are you keeping silent? Are you hesitating? Are you overworking? Where are all of these? It's costing billions when we total it up. Hundreds and thousands of dollars probably to you and billions to the companies. So I'm going to go back to one of my other clients, Jason. He worked for a tech company, mid-level manager. He had been there for at least 4 or 5 years. And he had been doing good. He was getting kudos. And yet there was something that he was not getting promoted. He went through 2 cycles of promotion, but one of his peers got promoted. And his boss kept on telling him, you got to prove, you got to show some innovation. You got to look around, because that's where, when we were sitting in the calibration room and when we were in the calibration meeting, we were looking, let's call him Jason. Jason, we were looking at your performance review, and let's call the other person John. When we were looking at John, the difference between the two of you was that John had done something innovative. John had done something to improve the processes that he was working on. And that helped a lot of other people, and it helped cut down on the costs. So of course, it just put him in another category. So Jason comes to the coaching, we explore, and he says, I don't think so, Divya. I'm able to see things. I just don't have it in me. Here's what I want to tell you. Just like Jason had it within him, you have it too. Yes, you do. Because I sincerely believe every person, yes, every person on this planet has unlimited potential. You have the answers within you. You have that potential. It's about looking within and finding that imposter gremlin and facing it through. So he comes and we work through it. And I'm going to share with you some tips how to work through it. So let's just fast forward his story. One day he comes to me and says that as we have been working through this, I've been looking at the process that I'm working on, and how could we cut costs and speed up the delivery timelines? And there was this innovation meeting. Even after him being prepped and all that, he just froze and couldn't speak up. He said, like, oh, I'm not just senior enough to say this. He stayed quiet. Yeah. And then they had another consultant because they needed to improve the processes. The consultant came and pitched almost exactly the same idea. Guess what? At hundreds of thousands of dollars. Of course, he wouldn't have got that, but he would have got a very hefty chunk in pay raise and title, which would have amounted to be calculated almost $200,000 with price, stocks, and all that. And then he came back and said, that could have been me. So what happened here? Innovation died in that silence. And then we got to it. We said, and I'll come back to Jason's story. And also, I will come back to Sarah's story. It's not done yet. But I want to show you what can happen when you give into that gremlin imposter. So, and let's look at it. Why does this gremlin have so much power? Right? It's like these people know they're capable, they're ambitious, they're already outperforming. Why does it strike more and more and harder? Here's the thing. The higher you rise, the more you're scrutinized and the more visible you become. Louder that gremlin whispers. You don't really belong here. Jason, Sarah, you don't belong here. What if they find out? And here's what I'll share with you. That neuroscience has shown that what happens is like there is fear, there is stress. Our lizard brain amygdala, boom, 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 boom. What does it do? It fires off alarms. Yes, alarms. That, oh gosh, it's pressure. So when it's pressure, oh, you're going to make mistakes. And even if you've made few mistakes in your life, see, there is that proof that you're not worth it. There's that proof you're not capable. So what happens is that when there are high stakes moments, even high powered executives, even experienced athletes, even people who have done it will get struck by it. So remember, as Aristotle said, courage is the first virtue because it makes everything else possible. So you could say like, all right, the monster gremlin imposter showed up. I'm going to let my knowledge sit idle. I'm going to hide my talent. I'm going to shrink my authority. So that's not going to work. And why is that? Why are people missing out on this? Because they're going with the wrong solutions. And here's what I'll show it to you. They're waiting like, oh, when I'm confident, I'll speak up. I'll log in more hours. I'll collect more certifications. And I'm not saying those certifications cannot bring that to you. They can, but they gotta be the right certification. Or somebody may be thinking, oh, when I get even more accolades. Or when this happens, which is external, my feeling of feeling the fraud, that I'm not the right person or I don't belong here will go away. Then it will vanish. It doesn't. That's the bad news. But it's important to talk it through. It's important for us to have this hard conversation. So what happens? All right, I'm waiting up. So now they armor up. They hide their doubts and project a fake confidence. But guess what happens? There's that disconnect because you're not connecting with the people. And yes, you can fake it till you make it. It's one of the ways to do it, but it's not coming from inside out. So as a result, because people are not connecting with you, there is not that element of trust. And sometimes, because of the gremlin imposter, a lot of entrepreneurs like Sarah or Jason, they either miss out on opportunities or say yes to everything. And when you're saying yes to everything, guess what? Burnout is waiting in the wings. And you try to over deliver and start making mistakes because you're so exhausted and burnt out in trying to prove that you belong there. None of this works. You cannot add more work. You cannot keep on saying yes. You cannot not strategize. So, how can you go about dealing with this gremlin imposter? It's about reclaiming your authority in the moment. Yes. And as we talked about. So, the key is the first step is recognizing the trigger, right? Okay. When this gremlin is showing up? So, when it shows up, do not confuse that's who you are. It's just your brain firing off an alarm. Says like, okay, let's come back to Sarah. When was she triggered? I'm going to take Sarah's story and walk you through. When she presented the value, let's say a potential client, Sarah said that for working with me for 6 months, here's what I'm going to be working with you. Here are the areas. Here, how we will help you achieve your goal. And even though she had testimonials a mile long, and she would say like, oh, this is how this was done with this client. This is how this was done with this client. Then they would say, really? I think so. You're charging a whole lot more than the other coaches. So then what's popping in her mind is that, oh, am I charging too much? I'm not supposed to charge. So here's the thing. This dollar store, with a dollar store, like you can get now, maybe things are not a dollar, some like, $1.29 or $5 or something like that. Then there is Target. It is the quality, it's the value. And then if you go to Nordstrom, the price is even higher. And are there customers for each store? Yes, customers are there. So it's about knowing your worth and not what other people say, attaching your identity to it, not attaching the character. So the key is the context. Remember to focus on the context, not on the character. And when I talk about the character, is that thought, when you identify with those thoughts, then you are like, oh, that's me. Versus the same thing with Sarah is like, okay, who do I want to be? So that's the first step we started out with her. Did she want it to be dollar store, Target, or Nordstrom? She decided she wanted to be Nordstrom. So then the next step, what we did was, okay, I've decided. Now, why are some of the things in Nordstrom more expensive? Because maybe they have the designers that are not present in Target. And why are those designers more valuable than in the Target? Because they are maybe exclusive and they may not be valuable to everyone, and it's okay. So that's the key. So we sat down and we worked on who was her ideal client. All right. My ideal clients are executives in C-suite executive. That's what Sarah said. So any of those executives who are working in C-suite do make good money. And if they are sitting there and bargaining with Sarah, then those are not her clients. So then what we did was, the next step was to check that trigger. All right. The gremlin has shown up. Let's pull out a fact. let's challenge that fear. So that's the next step, that you go ahead and you work through it and you challenge that gremlin. Okay, you're saying that, like, Sarah said that, like, the thought that comes to me is that I'm charging a whole lot more. So then we sat down and evaluated what was the value she was providing. The value she was providing was a whole lot more. Not only was she giving the courses, not only was she giving the coaching, not only was she giving them the support between sessions, so she was giving a whole lot more than the other coaches when she sat down and compared. So the fact are, it was okay for her to charge more. And if that meant letting go of the clients, that's all right. Sometimes, and now you may ask me a question over here, Divya, now that is going to be costing money. But think about it. Would you rather have a client where you can make difference in their lives and who recognizes your value? Because when people recognize their value that they're getting, they're going to put in that much time. They're going to be more invested. They are going to be working on their transformation. So I asked Sarah, what's important to you? And she said, the client's transformation is the most important to me. So I said, okay, here are two different things. What do you want to do? And she said, I'll let the client go who is sitting and bargaining, because then they will be bargaining it themselves. Like, oh, I'm stuck here. So they may not take that stretch action. And it's important to have the stretch goals and stretch actions. So she started that. And remember that the gremlin imposter will ramble. Yes, it rambles. It gives, a lot. Like, oh, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening in your thoughts. And as a result, what happens is you stop articulating clearly. So when the gremlin pops in, separate it out, acknowledge it. Thank you. You have shared it with me. And then think about the main point you want to make in a meeting. So that's just one example. So going back to Sarah's story, so when somebody would just kind of ramble on, like saying, oh, this was not worth it. And Sarah would just say one thing, I understand. And I may not be the brew of coffee that you may like, and it's okay. So here's how I provide the value, and here's what it is. So she did not go and to over explanation mode. She did not become overwhelmed. Just stated few things. She was very clear. And as a result, what happened? People who couldn't see the value walked away. People who could see the value did it. And that next year, when she implemented our authority reset tool, and if you would like to have that authority reset tool, reach out to me either on LinkedIn or with the email contact@divyaparekh.com, and I will send it to you. So the key was that even though she let it go, she ended up making $60,000 more. And the idea is that you're not apologizing for who you are. You're not being, I'm not asking you to be belligerent, or I'm not asking you to be arrogant. You're still humble. All you're doing is you're sharing the value. And when you share and don't sell, it's okay. Same thing in the sales call. Make your point and you make that little transformation, little change, one step at a time. Start out with small. I want to come back to Jason's story. So Jason's boss said that, like, because you didn't speak up, we'll have to delay your promotion for the next cycle, which was in 6 months down the road. And then what I told Jason was like, listen, Nobody can take away your potential, the knowledge you have, the experience you have. People may take away the titles, people may take away your money, but that knowledge and experience, that doesn't go anywhere. So when you invest in yourself, there's nothing more powerful than that, because you carry that with you wherever you go. Stocks may go up, stocks may go down. Yes, money may stay in the bank, money may go out. So he invested more time in himself, and he took that stretch action. He took that stretch goal. And when he did that, he found another area. Because guess what? He had the idea. So once he recognized his potential, he found another process where he could improve, which the consultants had not. And we worked through things. And then he was able to come up with a strong plan. So then he talked with his boss and said that, I'd like to invite the top stakeholders. And there was no meeting. He's taking the initiative. And when he did that, his boss said, sure, I'm all behind you, because this is the moment I've been waiting. So that way I can go and tell my bosses, like, look, Jason is that diamond that we have. So Jason copied his boss, invited the stakeholders, and he and I sat down and we worked on the narrative, because it's important to work on the narrative, on that storytelling. He presented that, he would like to have the meeting. They gave him his time. And guess what? He not only got the promotion, he got a double promotion. They actually created a title, a job for him, because he was so good with ideation and innovation. And he got to build his own team. So it's about taking that next bold step. And you start out with small. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be big step, but the bold step is that tiny step that you take. And why does it matter now more than ever? Here's what I'll tell you. It matters now more than ever because we're entering in the last quarter of the year. Pressure is high. You may be thinking, oh, I want to finish this year strong. Targets are tight, whether you're a coach, entrepreneur, professional. Visibility matters more. And when there is that, remember that imposter syndrome will strike. And this is where it's important for you to think about. How many opportunities will you miss if you continue to give in to that gremlin? How much revenue will sleep? How many opportunities you will lose? How much of that revenue will be gone from your final destination if you keep discounting? And besides all of this, how much energy will you burn if you keep proving instead of leading? So if you're ready, reach out to me. Happy to share that. And also, if you want to just give me a call and set up a time, I'd be more than happy to support you in your journey. Because guess what? Don't just keep on nodding. I challenge you to practice reset this week. So connect with me, and thank you for being part of my family. You're awesome. And I believe in you. You have that potential. Don't let that potential go to waste. Unleash it, even through the times when the gremlin imposter strikes. You can do it. You can move through it. And reach out to me at contact@divyaparekh.com for the authority reset tool. Happy to share it in details. And believe in yourself. I believe in you. I sincerely believe you could be the person that you want to be. You could achieve that success that you desire. One tiny step at a time, one tiny bold move at a time. And I want to raise a toast to you because you are here, you are listening. Kudos to you. And take that next tiny bold step. Reach out to me, let me know what was that, and I'll share it with the rest of our audience. So thank you for being part of this journey with me. And thank you for investing that time in yourself. So go invest that time in yourself and take that tiny bold move. Thank you, Juan, for making the show possible. Take care, and I'll see you.
Thank you for being part of Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. We hope you have learned more about how to start living the life you want. Each week on Beyond Confidence, you hear stories of real people who've experienced growth by overcoming their fears and building meaningful relationships. During Beyond Confidence, Divya Parekh shares what happened to her when she stepped out of her comfort zone to work directly with people across the globe. She not only coaches people how to form heart connections, but also transform relationships to mutually beneficial partnerships as they strive to live the life they want. If you are ready to live the life you want and leverage your strengths, learn more at www.divyaparekh.com. And you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. We look forward to you joining us next week.